Doc on the Run. We help injured runners run.
Did I tear my fascia after plantar fascia surgery? Well, that's what we're talking about today on the Doc on the Run podcast. I got a comment from a runner who posted this question as a comment on one of the YouTube videos on the Doc on the Run YouTube channel. And what he said was that he had plantar fascia surgery on February 6, 2024. So when I'm recording this is May. And he said that following everything he was supposed to do, he did it to a T, and that it had been 3 months, and he was feeling great until he started developing a small pain at the back of the arch right where the heel starts. Now, presumably, this is where he had the surgical incision, is where my guess was, because that's usually the area where the surgery's done. Now, he said it was tolerable, so it sounds like the pain wasn't that bad, but he went for a walk on a flat trail, and his whole arch started to hurt tremendously. He was hobbling back to the car, and then he said that my whole arch is in pain. Do you think I could have a torn plantar fascia? It was tolerable, but in hindsight, this should not have been ignored. Okay, that was his whole story. Now, I have a bunch of questions here. Our first question is, what surgery exactly was done for the plantar fascia? Now, I suspect that what he had was a plantar fascia release surgery of some variety. A release is just a fancy word for cut, right? So the plantar fascial ligament is a huge ligament on the bottom of the foot, attaches to the heel, right where his pain was that he was describing. But most of the time when we do it, depends on who the surgeon is, how they were trained. I would do it through a scope. So I would put a scope in there, look at it, cut a very specific amount of the fascia, turn the camera upside down, make sure that I can look at it on top and bottom, make sure it was cut all the way so there's no little fibers still hanging on under tremendous tension, and make sure that it's released the amount of fascia that I want in that area, and that's it. So I suspect he had that done. Sometimes it's done as an open procedure where you make an incision, you look at it, you cut it with some scissors or a scalpel or whatever, and it's done not through a scope, but where you actually open the skin and look at it and cut it. I don't know what surgery was done. The other thing is, did the surgeon recommend that you start walking and start of this new pain starting? And I suspect the answer to that would be no. I would also suspect that this person did not actually ask the doctor, but I don't know. So I don't know the whole story here. I also would want to know that when you made that transition from recovering, and 3 months after the surgery is really not that long, particularly if you think about a gap in the fascia that has to fill in with collagen, it's not been that long. And if you're walking and you're having pain, I wonder if the doctor looked at it with ultrasound and saw that actually you have a whole bunch of collagen bridging that area, and that it looks like it's strong enough to actually withstand that activity at that time or not. The main point here is there's a couple things you should take away from this. Number one, surgery should always be your last option. Lots of things can go sideways when you have surgery, so surgery should be the last option. But because it's your last option, if you opt for surgery, you really want to make sure you don't mess this up. You need to pay super close attention. So the fascia is weaker than it was before when you release it. So you don't cut it and make it stronger, you cut it and make it weaker. And that means there's more stress and strain on the rest of the fascia, and one of the main complications that we worry about is that it will rip more. So could this have ripped more? Maybe. I have no idea. I don't know the whole story. I don't know what the foot looked like. I don't know if it was bruised, if it was swelling, if there was an ultrasound that looked at it, if he's had an MRI. I have no idea. I don't know how much the pain was even. So sometimes the amount of pain, swelling, and bruising you have can give you a huge amount of information and tell you whether or not it's likely that you actually tore the fascia. But you've got to pay real close attention. The whole goal with all runners that I talk to, all the stuff I teach in the master classes for all the different conditions, including runner's heel pain, it's all about making sure that you as an athlete who understands your body and is able to pay attention really pays attention, so that you don't just get a timeline of, oh, you had surgery, we're going to wait for a year before you run. You don't have to wait for a year. You just have to wait until it's strong enough to actually increase your level of activity to match the activity that it can tolerate given the strength in the tissue at that time. But you have to be able to track it and monitor your pain and symptoms. If you ignore them, that never works. You can just destroy it, particularly if you're an athlete. all athletes have a higher pain threshold than normal individuals, which is why you're an athlete. You know how to suffer. And if you suffer to the point of actually doing damage after surgery, it's not going to make you better. It's going to make you worse, and it might actually change your outcome long term. So if you're a runner, make sure that you explain exactly what you want to do with your doctor, exactly what you're going to do to ramp up back to running, and the timeline that you expect to follow to do that, so that they know how to look and see if you're actually ready for that next move or not. Now, if you like this episode, please like it, please subscribe. If you haven't checked out the Runner's Heel Pain Masterclass and you think you have one of these problems like plantar fasciitis or a partial tear of the plantar fascia, come check it out. So sign up, it's free, and I'll see you in the training.
Doc on the Run. We help injured runners run.